All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the Utes now. First, what we want to talk about is with the departure of Jason Beck, who is following head coach Whittingham to Michigan. Coach Scally summons the Utah State OC, Kevin McGiven, to the Utes as the new offensive coordinator. He is a 25-year vet. He brings 17 seasons, of Division One experience, combined between offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coaching to this Utah team. Last year, as we mentioned, he was with Utah State. He served as Utah State's offensive coordinator, helping quarterback Bryson Barnes, the old pig farmer himself,
Absolutely.
achieve 2,500 passing yards, AJ, and 700 plus rushing yards as well.
Yeah.
Another one of his previous seasons was in 2024. He was the passing games coordinator and the wide receiver coach at San Jose State, where he coached Nick Nash. He is a redshirted senior who was named first team All-American, leading the nation, AJ, in receptions, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, with 104 catches for 1,382 yards with 16 touchdowns.
That's pretty impressive.
That's a pretty good. It's a pretty good resume there. Being a coach behind these talented young players.
Yeah, no,
you love to see it.
It absolutely is. And he actually, so Steve Bartle, KSL, actually interviewed Bryson Barnes, and they were specifically talking about what Utah's getting with the new offensive coordinator, Kevin McGiven.
Mm-hmm.
And Bryson Barnes just absolutely ranted and raved about this guy. Nice. And I mean, he talked a lot about how he's like totally a jokester. And he's always joking around, having fun with the guys, but this guy knows his stuff, right? So pretty cool to see, like when you start looking at his offensive philosophy. I spent probably an hour and a half just going over like game highlights from Utah State, and just kind of trying to get an idea of what this offense is going to look like. And that's kind of what we're showing today is, what is this going to be, when the offense takes off this year. So this is a West Coast style offense. They do. They're big time, high flying. The quarterback's going to be working through the progressions. I mean, lots of air raid principles. And this guy does a lot of personnel switching to just continuously confuse defenses. That's his whole thing. Mm-hmm. Bryson Barnes kind of described this offense as like a quarterback's best friend. He says he's got a check system in place that allows you to make changes right on the field. He gives a lot of freedom to his quarterback. So when I hear this, like this style of offense, it actually makes me think a lot of the Jason Beck offense, and how it's really versatile. They use every angle of the field. And the big thing about Kevin McGiven is he's going to make sure that he's utilizing his best players as much as possible, just like the Jason Beck offense did. So, this is a passing first offense. Like that's who McGiven is. It's always pass first. And the reason he does that is because he zooms in on teaching his quarterbacks how to attack certain defensive schemes. So he says, you see these guys lined up here, you've got a weak spot here because this linebacker has to go up there. Like that is his whole thing, is he locks in on teaching quarterbacks how to beat defensive schemes. So it sounds like it's going to be a passing first offense. That was what I saw. These guys throw the ball a lot, but he's always going to be putting the ball into playmakers' hands. So, this is going to be really fun. And the biggest thing is this guy generates explosive plays. That's Kevin McGiven offense. He wants to get the big plays. He's going to take shots down the field. He's going to set up schemes where it might be a trick play and you're going to try to break off 60. We saw that a lot. We saw that a lot last year in the Jason Beck offense. We have good offensive line guys. We got some good ones coming back. Check out our video last week where we reviewed the whole offense. There was some offensive line talk in there. We've got some great pieces to bring back. And then you think of players who might excel in this offense. The first one for me that comes to mind is going to be Wayshawn Parker.
Okay.
I mean, if your whole goal is to put the ball in your best offensive player's hands, Wayshawn Parker is that guy. Again, we talked about it last week. He's just one of the most talented players on the field anytime he's out there. He's explosive. He's got a ton of speed. He's elusive. He can block. He can catch the ball out of the outfield. Anywhere you can put this guy, he is going to help. And I think that could lead to a really good year for Wayshawn Parker. Another player that I think is going to could have a really good season under McGiven, my guy Bird Ficklin, man.
Nice.
Like he's just great speed. He has great decision making. Or he's that guy that's great at just skipping back and forth and making a good run and hitting it. So, and I mean, last but not least is going to be obviously Devin Dampier.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that. That was
Yeah,
kind of the piece that I wanted to question there. Do you think there's was a conversation with Devin Dampier regarding the recruiting process to keep him to stay here? When his offensive coordinator went to Michigan with Witt, you'd think that he would also go with them as well, but he chose to stay here. And I'm thinking that Morgan Scalley, his coaching philosophy, his coaching style, is going to be a little bit more like you mentioned, a little bit more open to the passing first type option, which we always heard, 50-50. The pass game opens up, the run game opens up the pass game, blah, 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 right? But you always knew with offense that it was never going to be pass first.
nope.
It's going to be run heavy. It's just how it is. And then if you run into a bit of trouble, then they'll try to open it up and throw a Hail Mary pass, what it seemed to always be like.
Yeah,
In this case, what I'm thinking is that with you were talking about in the Vegas Bowl, we were starting to see a little bit more of that, right? A little bit
yeah,
more of the passing being an option. Do you think that was a big piece to that when Morgan Scalley became the head coach and then picked Kevin McGiven to be his offensive coordinator? Do you think that was some of the pitch that kept our guy Devin Dampier here?
yeah. I think that's absolutely some of the pitch because, like you said, Kyle Whittingham's always run first, control the tempo of the game. Get your defense off the field, chew up some clock, get these guys some time to rest. Defensive first, and I don't think that's going to go away. I think Scalley's always going to be a defense first coach. That's who
Right.
he is. That's his DNA, right? But to answer your question, yes, guaranteed they had a conversation. And I think when Kevin McGiven was pitching this to Devin Dampier, there's very few quarterbacks in the NFL that have fantastic running seasons that last long enough to play, or that even make the NFL, let alone last long enough to play.
Right.
Right. The NFL, the players are too big, too fast, too strong. Devin Dampier is not a huge guy. What he's got to showcase is his arm talent. So by bringing in a pass first or even if it went 60-40 passing
Mm-hmm.
and Devin Dampier gets a chance to throw the ball down the field more, it's going to help him a ton. It's going to help his chance at going to the league. It's going to help his, like those throwing numbers have to be pristine if you're going to be looked at in the NFL world. So I think that had a lot to do with his decision to stay, as well as like I do think Devin Dampier does like the Morgan Scalley like defense first because in before he came to Utah, he was talking in one of the interviews and he talked about how it would be really nice to have a defense. Not that going to Michigan you wouldn't have that because they're some of the best players in the world, right? Like
Right.
college players, you're going to have the best talent there. But I think he came to appreciate the Morgan Scalley coaching scheme and coaching against such or playing in practice against such good defenses. And I think they were always testing him. I think he's looks forward to the challenge of staying here. I don't know, man. I think this is going to be such a fun season. It's going to be awesome. I mean, the more I watched Utah State tape, the more I was like, this offense is really cool. Like they do run a lot of like trick stuff. They do run a lot of like you're always taking the defense's eyes somewhere else and then, going the other way. And I mean, Bryson Barnes, as much film as I watched, dude, he was so good last year for Utah State. They only won
Yeah.
6 games,
Yeah,
but
I'm like, where is this guy? Where are this 2,500 yards when he was
I
starting
am
for Utah?
telling you,
Right?
man, he was insane last year.
That's great.
And he's always thrown a good ball, but they put the ball in his hands to run the ball and make decisions and run some, like some pitch options where he'd go out and make like RPO type plays. And
Mhm.
he just, Barnes picked it up really fast. And it gives me a lot of hope that, we have a quarterback that was in a very similar system last year. And as far as, using the RPO, and I think it's going to be awesome.
No, I agree. I look forward to it. It's going to be very interesting to see because, again, what we're looking for this year is not only for them to establish an identity, but do so while still competing
Yeah.
for the conference. So,
Yep.
love to see it. Let's go ahead and hit this comment real quick from Aaron here. This is more of a personal request from AJ there. This season's going to be an interesting one. what game we go into. That's a good question. Just make sure your boy gets invited
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Right?
absolutely. You
Don't forget about me.
let's pick one, man. I'll be at all of them. I got season tickets, so
Nice, nice.
you tell me which one you want to go to.
Just a humble brag right there, but that's okay. Okay, moving right along there. Let's go ahead and stay on with the Utes here. Now, there was an article on SI.com about the University of Utah and its revenue generating opportunity for 2025. This article on Sports Illustrated basically stated that the Utes, while in a deficit in 2024, where they lost about 17 million, were able to bring it back to 50 million in 2025. Get a chance to see this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Utah Athletic Department as a whole posted a 4.69 profit for fiscal year 25. Football itself generated 108 million in revenue for the University of Utah, with football expenses being at 51.8 million, which means they turned roughly a $50 million profit for the Utah football program.
Slight correction, 101.8 million.
What did I say?
108.
Oh, 101.8. Sorry. Yep. I missed a one.
You just know they're not going to let us.
My
let
bad.
that slide.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No,
You guys keep us honest down there.
Such a great point. So it's really interesting because NIL revenue sharing was something that wasn't technically allowed before the 2025 season, before fiscal year 25.
Technically.
And that obviously it's technically right. Like revenue sharing wasn't technically allowed. So there was $0 spent on direct NIL revenue sharing in fiscal year 25. But starting in 25 and 26, schools can share up to $20.5 million annually with athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So Utah AD Mark Harlan has already publicly announced that he plans to spend the maximum dollars allowed annually on NIL revenue dollar sharing.
You kind of have to, man. You can't go out there and say we're going to see what we're going to do. You're not going to land anybody, man. It's just not how it's going to work.
You got to. I mean, that's just it. And then obviously Utah did enter into the private equity partnership with Otro Capital, which is expected to generate roughly $500 million, for athletics. And that's not just Utah football. That's Utah athletics overall. But once the private equity deal closes, it'll be really interesting to see how Utah uses some of this money to.
Yeah, you and I've talked about this. We're kind of on opposite sides on this one.
We are, absolutely.
I definitely think that they're going to use the money wisely, but private equity is not about losing money, man. That's just not something they do. Fastest way to lose this money is to throw some players. That's just not a smart way to do it.
Especially when players aren't under any kind of contract.
Yeah, and you're going to have them for 1 to 2 years?
Yeah.
And then they're gone. So the best way to use this money would be to improve the facilities and do things that were more revenue generating. That's what they're going to be more interested in than versus more premium seating for the higher ticket prices, more better opportunities for you to spend money while you're at the games. That's going to be what their focus is on retaining value for the dollars that they're going to be spending, which again, to your point that we've talked about before off air, opens up the purse strings in other spots where you were using that money for that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, which will allow those to be more revenue generating, which will allow you to use boosters' monies for.
And I think we'll see some of this money go to players.
I really hope not. That'd just be the.
I think that
$500 million is a waste of time.
And I don't know how much we'll see, right? But I think at some point, private equity has to fund some of these NIL deals. Like, if you can only revenue share $20.5 million, that's what, 4 or 5 players. I mean, Texas Tech was paying guys $9 million. Some crazy, maybe it wasn't that much. I think it was $9 million in total on 3 or 4 players, but they were putting in a lot of money to make sure that they had top talent. And look how far Texas Tech went.
Yeah, and they pushed all the chips in the middle for that. But the thing that I'm thinking of is just it's not smart way to do that. They're going to use the revenue that they generated. They're going to use the money that they're getting from boosters for the NIL deals. And I think everything else that they were spending outside of that, that's where the private equity money is going to come. I don't think, I could be wrong, but most of the people that I know that are in private equity don't like to lose money. And that's a fast way to lose money, is just to throw money at players.
Absolutely.
To your point, that might be something they're forced to do in the early years.
Yeah.
Until
they can get some of that preliminary stuff in place that you talked about, upgrading facilities and changing some premium seating, that kind of stuff. That stuff takes time.
Yes.
But if you can get players and teams winning, you're going to generate revenue immediately, because there's no better way to sell out a stadium than to win ball games.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things I want to talk about right there is bottom line, difference between 2024 and 2025, losing versus winning season. Bottom line, winning helps. You have a more successful year as a football program. You actually have a bowl game you get to go to.
Yep.
I believe that was 12.4 million of the revenue that they generated was from that.
Yep.
10.9 was from ticket sales. 9.3 was from royalties and sponsorships. 19.8 was from the Big 12 media rights deal. So money was coming in from other places. But yeah, again, bottom line, winning helps, and you can throw some money at some players at the early go to help push that deal forward. That's not that Utes ever don't sell out home games, but do some funny things where you can add in some additional Crimson Club type options there. Some player and meet and greet experiences, stuff like that. You'll start seeing more of that.
All that stuff makes money. Absolutely.
Yeah, just be prepared for those tickets to cost a little bit more next year. AJ.
They already do.
Love to see it. Love to see it. What we have here again, folks, as a reminder, we did just start a channel specifically for your University of Utah Football Club. We have Utah Football DNA. This is a channel we specifically designed, dedicated to all your Utah football content. All of our content for the Utes will be posted here first. So if you have not yet, make sure you check it out in the description down below. It's all of our content for the Utes will be posted there, and it's a dedicated channel for your Utah Utes. So be sure to check it out in the description down below. Smash that like button for your boy AJ. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of our Ute content.
Absolutely.